Hello there, Parth Sharma this side, bringing you chess classics. And in chess classics, I will be looking at top 15 games played by Viswanathan Anand, the 15th world chess champion, or I should say 15th undisputed world chess champion, because he is considered as one of the greatest chess players to have played the game. Why am I saying this? Because he has been world champion in all possible formats, be it FIDE Rapid Champion, the undisputed Classical Champion, and he became Rapid Champion as well, probably in 2017 or so, maybe around that year. And he is indeed an inspiration to me as well. Being an Indian, I always looked up to Vishy and Gary, and Gary had a lot of influence on me as far as playing chess, how to play chess is concerned. But Vishy had introduced me to chess because of his inspirational style of play. The first ever grandmaster from India, the land from which the game itself originates. It's it's quite amazing, and it was appropriate that I should look at top 15 games played by one of India's gems, and certainly one of the greatest to have played the game. So in this series, I would be looking at top 15 games played by the Tiger of Madras, which is now renamed as Chennai, and it was unfortunately the place where Vishy lost his World Championship title to Magnus Carlsen, but it is the place from which he started playing chess because it is his hometown, Chennai. So I would be looking his game against even Sokolov, which was played in 1992, and this was one of his favorite, I would say one of my favorite games, as listed at 15th spot. And without further ado, let's have a look. Vishy is white, Sokolov is black. Vishy opens with e4, c5, knight f3, e6, d4, c takes, knight takes, and now Sokolov goes for this Khan variation. This is a rapid play tournament, mind you, and I don't know exactly the tournament, but certainly it was. I just came through this game, and when I saw this game, I analyzed it further, and I found it pretty amazing. It didn't matter where this game was held, and yeah, irrespective of it, whether it was a classical game or a blitz game or a rapid game, the quality of game just attracted me towards it, and this was one of it. So a6, the Khan variation, this is very well known, knight c3, and normally you see bishop b4 in this position, but the problem is you only play that when you have played knight to f6 instead of a6, and which is not the case here. He has played a6 instead of knight f6, so bishop e4 doesn't come now, but Sokolov plays d6, and suddenly the position has transformed into a Scheveningen Sicilian, as you can see the pawn structures on d6 and e6, and with Anand's next move, or I should say Sokolov's next move, Anand plays a4, and by playing knight to f6, now this position transforms into knight of Scheveningen because of the pawn on a6 and these two pawns on d6 and e6 respectively. With move bishop to e2, now this transforms into another form of Sicilian, the Opocensky variation, with bishop to e2, and we have seen this in Karpov-Kasparov matches as well. In 1985, we saw Opocensky variation where Kasparov won a beautiful game with black against Karpov. The famous 24th game, which made Kasparov the world champion. And bishop e2 is played by Anand here. He played this against Kasparov as well, so well worth considering. And normal moves are bishop to e7, knight to c6, or even queen to c7 is very well respectable move. Very well respectable moves in this position. But bishop e7 is more so because it prepares black king to castle. But there is always a threat of castling too early that white might start its pawn storms on the king's side, and hampering, obviously opening lines for its pieces so that they can invade black's kingside territory. And that is a big risk that black has once it has played bishop e7 and castle. And Sokolov avoids this, and being it a rapid game, so both players would be moving rapidly, and he plays knight b to d7. But these are grandmasters, and their opening theory is as deep as, I would say, 20-25 moves, and these days especially. But in 1992 we are talking about no internet, or I should say no browsers, or some rudimentary softwares which weren't as equipped as today's softwares such as Stockfish or Alpha or Leela Zero for that matter, which are so powerful. And not forget Komodo. So this is all very well theory. Knight b d7 is somewhat peculiar move, which is normally seen when white plays bishop to c4, but here he has played bishop to e2, and with bishop not being on c4, this knight b to d7 looks a little bit dubious. So anyway, castles, knight to c5, so we see the function is to attack this pawn twice, beg your pardon, twice. And if you play, let's say, f3, then black can play queen to b6, and that can be really unpleasant because then this knight would be sitting into a pin, and if there is a backing of bishop, then this bishop is also undefended on e3 square once f3 is played, defending the pawn. So this is a very tricky move, knight to c5, with the ideas of queen c6 if f3, or queen b6 if f3 happens. So understandably, Vishy defends the pawn with bishop to f3, bishop to e7 by Sokolov, and now g3. So basically trying to station this bishop to g2 so that he can easily play f4 and f5, opening lines to this black king and creating more weaknesses, especially in the center of the board. Sokolov castles, bishop to g2, queen to c7, bishop to e3 so that everything is perfectly safe, and also developing your queen's bishop. That's very important here. Rook to b8, so trying to get out of this, try to get out of the line of the bishop, and also trying to prepare b5. And now comes f4, and this is a very clever move, and there aren't good choices to play. Sokolov played rook to e8. Maybe rook to d8 would have been a better choice, because after, let's say, g4, so white is starting its pawn storm at the side of the board, then white can counter it by attacking in the center, e5 just closing the center, and after knight f to e4, it's very difficult for white to get a specific breakthrough. For instance, after knight takes, rook to c1, placing it opposite black queen, b5, a takes, now c3, b4, and now after cb4 you can see the queen is attacked, and after queen b6 the position should be okay for both colors, I would say. Not winning for anyone, but probably better for white because of these pawn advancements. Okay, rook d8, a move well worth considering, but he plays rook to e8, and now after e5 you have to make a decision where to go. Should you move your knight to d5, or should you capture the pawn on e5? Maybe knight d5 would have been the better option, just to make sure that this pawn structure stays intact as it is. But implementing this plan in a rapid game, not so easy. And Sokolov takes on e5, pawn takes, the knight now has to move, and I will give you some time to guess what Anand played in this position. Take a pause and think. Well, if you found it out, that's brilliant. And if you just want to see what Anand played, it's rook takes f7. Boom! That is a subtle move indeed. We will see what happens if you take the rook, because Sokolov actually did take that rook on f7. Well, a possible continuation could be to take the pawn on e5 by the knight. Bishop f4 looks a little bit unpleasant, placing this knight into this pin. Queen d6, rook takes bishop, rook takes, knight d to b5. Everything is forced up to now, and the queen is attacked, as you can see, so there's no time to take that. So queen takes, rook takes, and if you take this, then this is hanging, as you can see. So after knight c to d7, bishop takes, knight takes e5, rook d8, an intermediate check, king f7, and now you move this knight to d6. Still looks winning because of the possible continuation which followed, because this bishop looks, I would say, very loose on c8 square. In fact, it is dropping because it's come with a check, so there's no time to play rook to c7. So rook to f7, Sokolov takes the rook, and again I will give you some time. Take a pause and think how Anand continued in this position. Well, if you found it out, again it's awesome, because another move which Anand played is spectacular. Queen to h5 check, and you have to keep attacking this black king. This king is somewhat pretty much exposed, and it needs some arrest. Now Sokolov played king to f8. What happens if you play king to g8? You can see the rook is dropping, and there isn't a decent way to defend. For instance, if you play knight to f8, probably the best move in this position, then rook to f1 just consolidates everything. This is threatened. In fact, queen f7 check with queen takes knight is threatened. That's a big threat indeed. Alternatively, after queen takes e8 check, if you play bishop f8, well, then comes this beautiful move, knight to d5. And the idea is to play knight here, and if this knight is captured, then bishop takes g5 check is absolutely crushing. King h8 would be only move, but then queen f7, threatening mate, and the only way to defend that is to just come in between, but then bishop will chop up that piece off, and that will be that. So after queen h5 check, Sokolov plays king f8, and it was well worth considering that knight c6 was a move that is suggested by the engine, but it's very complicated to see lines and to calculate into that depth, especially in a rapid game, and especially for the humans it's very difficult to see knight c6. So I won't go into that. I would be looking at the game that Anand played and the subsequent variations. Rook to f1 check, and knight to f6, because if king moves then the rook drops, and you have to interpose with something, either with knight or with bishop, and whatever piece you will choose, that will be chopped off. And if pawn takes, then bishop h6 will win on the spot. So bishop takes f6 is forced, and now comes another move, knight d to b5. Brilliant stuff again, attacking the queen, and if pawn takes, then bishop takes will be check, and the queen is supporting that. So it's not losing a piece here, and Sokolov does take the knight, and in fact the best move should have been to take that knight on c5, and the queen is defending. beg your pardon. Queen is defending the bishop, as you can see. Rook to e7, and after knight takes b5, queen takes c5, check is forced, and queen captures that. And this looks, I would say, totally lost. You are down a queen. A takes b5, Anand takes the pawn on b5. And the best move here should have been to play queen f7, dumping this knight. Maybe a better option. The queen is attacked, so this knight is dropping anyway. He plays queen d7, and now I will give you some time. Take a pause and think what Anand played. Well, if you found it out, brilliant. And if you just want to see what Anand played, queen takes h7. Not so difficult to find. And why did I make you pause this video? Because this again is a very crucial theme. There are chances that king can escape through g8, or I should say, or through e7 for that matter, and king g8 would have ensured that king is in safe hands. So queen takes h7 takes that king g8 option out of king's hands, and it forces now king to go to e7, but Sokolov plays queen to e7, and which was a terrible mistake. And again, I will give you some time. Take a pause and think what Anand played, because this was really spectacular. Well, the move that Anand played was rook takes f6 check. Again, opening everything up. And if pawn takes, let me show you, then bishop h6 check. It will be mate once queen blocks. This is mate. Bang! Thank you. After rook takes f6 check, queen has to take, and now bishop takes c5 check. Rook comes to e7, queen to h8 check, king f7 is the only move, and after knight d6 check, Sokolov resigns the game. Why did he resign? King g6 is the only move, and bishop e4 check will be devastating, and if queen doesn't block, then king g5 would remain the only move, but then queen h4 will be a sweet mate. And after bishop e4 check, if queen blocks, then we go g4. We are in no hurry on taking this queen, because we are setting up a nasty threat of queen h5. And if queen takes bishop, we play queen h5 check, and after king f6, you take the queen with knight, and that will be checkmate. Boom. As it turned out, after knight d6 check, Sokolov resigned, and this was another, I would say, at number 15, the 15th best chess game of Vishy Anand, the Tiger of Madras. So do take time to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. And if you like my work, if you like what I do, then do consider supporting me on Patreon and PayPal. You will find the links in the description, because your support is my motivation which keeps me going. So tomorrow I will be looking at number 14 best chess game of the Tiger of Madras, Vishy Anand. Till then, thanks for watching. Stay safe. Cheers. Bye.